I hear the term thrown out there a lot, championship or bust this season. Well, I always like to push back on that because when I hear championship, we've become so hyper focused on this playoff in the national championship that I clarify when I hear Michigan fans or other outside fans that are challenging Michigan fans to say, well, this season's championship or bust. And I said, well, they're already winning championships. Oh, no, well, those don't count. It's just the national championship. Oh, okay. What does that term mean to you? Does it mean anything to you?
Well, I think it does. So the college football playoff, like you've said, it's pretty small at this point. And in my opinion, championship or bust, I really think starts with your conference. I believe, but the way people are talking about it, the way Blake Corum and the Michigan program means it, is they're talking about at a national level. They want to win the Natty this year. And I don't blame them. They've got the team to do it. I think they're very capable this year. But getting back to what you're talking about, I just think, especially with the expansion of the playoff, the term championship or bust is going to change and mean something different, because I do think that the value of the conference championship will return in some degree, not to the way it used to be as this playoff expands.
When we look at the Ohio State-Michigan rivalry, it's strange just to think it was only 2 years ago. If we were sitting here having this conversation just 2 years ago, people were wondering, when is Michigan ever going to win this game? And now they've owned the second half 2 consecutive years and not won on a last-second field goal, but bloodied Ohio State physically in the trenches, beat them up, and won the game decisively 2 consecutive years against favored Ohio State teams. Now we come into the 23 season, and some people still consider Ohio State more talented, the favorite. Other people, Michigan's the favorite. It depends on your service. They're both like top 3 to 4 in the country, any magazine you want to pick up. So people are anticipating that all the marbles will be on the table at the end. When I think the term program, I differentiate that from team. It's the 2023 team, the 2 rosters, but the program, and Ohio State's had a much better program for a period of time. However, it could be argued Michigan's got the better program now because they've proven it on the field and they backed it up. Where do you think these programs stand right now?
I think it's really hard to put Michigan above Ohio State in this situation, just because Ohio State has had this program built for so long at a successful level. 2 blips in the road. I know it's 2 years, and I know Michigan bloodied them and dominated them in the trenches and really asserted their will. But it's only 2 seasons, and I know that Ohio State fans are going to like that I'm saying that, and Michigan fans are going to say, well, there's clearly a difference in where these programs are at. But I think Ryan Day is a great coach. I think Ohio State has a great team, and especially this year, I know people have them flying under the radar, so to speak, as it relates for the Big Ten championship. People are penciling Michigan in. But the more I review this Ohio State roster, the more I like their defense, and the more I think their running game will carry their offense as that quarterback battle wages on, and that whoever ends up starting, whether it's Brown or McCord, emerges. And so there are 2, I think, perspectives for this team or these teams this year. Michigan, I see as a team is going to come out of the gate very strong. A team, a lot of returning players, but you don't have as much to build on developmentally. And so that concerns me because their ceiling it's high, but I'm curious to see if Ohio State building that momentum throughout the season by developing their quarterback, and I know their passing game is going to be still very good, but the confidence coming in and developing your quarterback as the season goes on and they meet in that game, it'll be interesting to see if Michigan has built any momentum or if they just kind of feel like they've cruised their way through their schedule, getting to that point and haven't kind of been tested. I know Penn State comes later in the year, Maryland as well. And those are 2. I think Maryland is a dark horse. So I think Maryland is a dark horse for the conference. I don't think they'll upset anyone, but I think they could very easily win double-digit games this year. And so if you don't have any early season tests, you get late in the year and you're stuck with a difficult schedule. I mean, 3 of your last 4 games are still very difficult, and you have to deal with that. And Ohio State has that chance to build some momentum early on in the year and then get to that point where they meet in the game in a way that maybe Michigan did back in 2021.
Nelson, you used the term ceiling, and a lot of this derives from Michigan losing in the playoff. Ohio State also lost in the playoff, but Michigan losing to good TCU team, Ohio State losing to the best team in the country. And, that 1-point loss in many people's eyes was almost like, well, that was the de facto national championship game because it was just so well played and Georgia's so great. And Ohio State basically outplayed them. They did lose the game, but they outplayed them. So there's this theory out there now that Michigan is built to win the Big Ten championship, and Ohio State is built with a higher ceiling to then get into the playoff and be a bigger threat in a playoff situation.
I understand that's there. That's somewhat what I was alluding to, but my interest peaks when we start talking about J.J. McCarthy's development for Michigan and how they start to change their offense, if they do. See, I've been the believer that Harbaugh is still going to run the ball all the time, and even though he wants to say he wants to keep it balanced, he said that last year, and really they didn't last year. Their bread and butter was the run game, and they knew that, and that's fine. But there's going to be a point where McCarthy has to step up in a way that he sort of did against TCU, but then he threw those 2 pick sixes. So it's hard to eliminate those two things, but he showed he's capable of making the big-time throws in big-time games and did it against Ohio State very clearly. So I think that, yes, there is – I don't want to put one ceiling higher than the other, so I'd like to refer to it more as momentum and the ability to build that as you get towards your ceiling, right? So you have the confidence – and Michigan's already a very confident team, but there is something about getting rolling, going into games like that. And if you don't feel like there's been that progression, it does concern me that there could be some stagnation for Michigan. But I know that Georgia fans felt that way going into last season as well.
I do believe that Michigan's in a good position from the standpoint of attacking this season psychologically and also from a program standpoint on the recruiting path, because what they can sell is proof of concept. So what Harbaugh couldn't sell 2 years ago was a recruit could think, this is a good program, obviously a great school. All these boxes are checked, but are they going to win championships? They can't beat Ohio State. Now they've proven that. They've proven, but they haven't. They're not the Alabama and current Georgia factory line of championships where, under Nick Saban, if you played Alabama, and I'm not discarding any of these great players that played at Alabama, but it's almost like you've got your ticket in line and you're just amongst a factory line and you didn't really prove anything or do anything different than everybody else did. But at Michigan, you can sell, we've proven we can play elite football, win the Big Ten, be right there, but you can be the guy that helps us go to the top, and you can be a legend. You can do something special at Michigan, take us all the way to the top. Whether you're selling a recruit on that or driving this team in terms of motivation.
Yeah, I mean, you really can. And that's the thing that I think we have to make sure we don't forget about, especially when they're recruiting this class this year for 2024, is they have a lot of players that they've sold that on. And I know that lately they've missed out on a couple of recruits, but there's still some big ones out there that they expect to have some good chances with. And maybe, just maybe, I know you look at a guy like Bryce Underwood, who's a 2025 QB. He's one of the top quarterback prospects in a very long time, and he's from the east side of the state of Michigan, very close to Ann Arbor. And they feel like their chances are good. Our Josh Henschke over here at Michigan Rivals of the Maize and Blue Review has been talking about lately that he feels that Michigan is in the lead for Underwood, and that's a guy that can, I know Michigan does have Jaden Davis coming in. They've got J.J. McCarthy right now, but the feeling that he is that type of generational, like once-in-a-generation type of prospect that you can't really get, if you're able to sell that to him, that we haven't done it yet, we haven't won the Natty yet, we've won these championships, you can come in, we'll be a very good team, we'll develop you, and you'll be able to take us to that top. And that's what they're selling on all these quarterbacks, Davis and Underwood. And McCarthy was sort of that guy that was, and I would say Donovan Edwards as well, were the guy that they recruited to fix the issue with Ohio State. And that's how they pitched it, which is a similar thing as we need you to take us over this hump. And that's what happened.